Okay, there it goes. Whatever that music I play for us. Let's hope it's running. My thing says it's yeah, there it is. It's live. Yeah, we're good. We're good now. Sorry for the
Woo!
sorry for the people who watch this later on for the delay. We had some I had technical difficulty, I should say, and now that should be fixed. Here we are today to talk about the summer season of 2023. Um, with us, we have Jessica.
Hello.
We also have Albert.
Hello,
And we have the dragon.
hello.
Do you want to be called Dragon Warrior or just Dragon?
Dragon is fine.
All right. Vinny, we don't know where you are, but we're here for you. We hope you come back and chat with us at the end of the season. But for now, we're gonna have to continue without you. And I hope the rest of your anime watching goes better because I hear you've been kind of having problems watching anime. But we're just going to go down the list that I have in alphabetical order and talk about the shows we've seen and why we dropped them or why we're not watching them. And first up is this title I got here called AI no Idenshi. So it's not it's AI. And because I guess in this world AI has become a big thing within these machines. I guess you kind of want to call them cyborgs, like what say, right? Or living tissue over whatever. And these the weird part about it was that the AI you can definitely identify by their eyes because their eye pupils were kind of like horizontal and lengthwise versus everyone else, or they were just elongated versus our circular uh, iris. And I guess in this world, it is illegal to copy your the AI, its brain, for the future use. I guess it became a big problem where people were copying AIs and then put them into other things and just reproducing themselves. So in this world, that's a big no-no. And in this first episode, it played with this thing where this guy went through the black mark to copy his wife, and now she has a bug or a virus, and it's not everything's not going well with her. So they hired this doctor who's an AI person that um, to help her, and they've come to the conclusion that they have to just wipe her all out and then get her memory that he had copied and fit that in. So it came this big issue of like, now that if we wipe her out, is she still going to be the same person, or is it going to be a whole new person? Type of thing that played out. It it kind of seemed a little interesting, but it just also wasn't all that great at explaining things. And I'll probably have to watch more, but just that first episode just couldn't pull it in, and it kind of fell flat for me.
Yeah, I
So
remember the premise of it was like kind of interesting, and like when we got into that like whole like issue of like, oh well, like this version of her is like gone, but like yet like the memories from that backup are gonna be the same. It's just that there's gonna be like a gap of memory. So it's like, is she still technically the same person, or is she a different person, even though they share the same memory? But I thought that was kind of interesting. But I don't know. I just wasn't getting like entirely like drawn in. I was like, okay, like if it's on, I'll be like there, like maybe paying attention to some of it. But it wasn't something like I would devote my whole attention
I think it like I said, it seemed a little interesting. I may watch more of it if someone else tells me it gets a little more interesting later on. But right now, it's just gonna be dropped. Next up, we got Ayaka, which is I don't know how to explain it. I guess this boy who's an orphan, um, has like some kind of special abilities with water. I can't remember. I wasn't 100% paying attention. It's just how uninterested I was in, and it has something to do with his family lineage. But some people, I think he was like given off to an uncle or someone like that, but he never lived with him. He like kind of lived alone or in an orphanage or something. I can't remember where he was until one day when he's in high school. His uncle's like, "Okay, I'm taking you, and you're going to go to the village." And he sends some other person that the boy realizes that he's met him before as a child, and they used to hang out. So it has all these weird things with like Oni and spiritualism and fighting. So it's going to be this big, like, seems like it's going to be a interesting action show, but I just couldn't get into it.
I couldn't get into this one either. I don't know. I was just very uninterested in it.
So yeah, so that's those two shows. So I did make fun of the guy in the green suit because he had this like pendant that looked like the Mazda or whatever they call that.
Oh, the
symbol.
Mercedes
But
logo,
yeah, the
right?
Mercedes logo. Yeah, that's what it was. The Mercedes logo. It drove me crazy. I'm like, what was that? That looks like that car symbol. The next title is a title that I'm interested in because I've seen it around on High Dive, but I never watched it, and I don't know if I should watch it or not. So this will be interesting to hear about, which is called Dark Gathering. So that would be Albert and Jessica, right?
Yeah. Albert, do you want to go first?
Sure. So I picked this up to take a look at because it was kind of a horror theme, right? And those are far and few in between. So horror, mystery, that kind of thing. And so I started watching it, and then right off at the beginning, it's about this kid. He's a freshman. He is supernaturally sensitive, and something happened a few years ago where he got involved with the supernatural, and that ended up causing a curse on him and hurting someone that he cared about. And so he's traumatized, he's kind of withdrawn from society, but he's trying to re-enter society. And as part of becoming going to college, he takes on a tutoring job. And it just so happens that the kid that he's supposed to be tutoring is staying at his childhood friend's house. So I believe they're cousins. And so the little kid, of course, it's a lolly, right? Yayoi-chan has a quirk. And when you look at the character design, you see that her eyes are skulls, but the skulls actually represent the fact that she has two pupils in her eyes. And this is because she is supernaturally sensitive and she can see both the regular world and with her other pupils see the supernatural world. So, okay, so kind of an interesting premise, but as soon as they kind of meet, there's these funny gaggy moments where they go kind of deformed and have slapstick comedy, and that is not exactly what I was hoping for in this show. So I think it's in the first episode where they go investigate. The kid Yayoi-chan is very interested in the supernatural, and Keitaro does not want to be involved, but he's kind of forced into the situation and is almost strangled by a ghost. And there's some weird interactions. I can't remember if I watched 2 episodes. I can't remember what happens and what, but I believe it's resolved in the first episode. And Yayoi basically captures the ghost, and you later on discover that she has a collection of these, and all the ghosts are essentially terrified of her. So she has the ability to hunt and kill ghosts or torture them, and she's on a mission to find a particular ghost that took away her mom. So her parents tragically died, and apparently her mom's ghost was taken away for nefarious purposes by something supernatural. So she's on the hunt for that. And she needs Keitaro because he attracts ghosts, even though he doesn't want to be involved. And because the other ghosts are terrified of her, she has a hard time finding them. So she's like, "You're the bait." Okay, so that's the premise. Sounds kind of cool, but the execution is where I'm having a lot of issues with. And I mentioned the slapstick comedy and kind of off-kilter tone, and the pacing seems a little off. So after 2 episodes, I decided not to continue. But it's also slated, I think, for 2 cours. So I don't feel like it was interesting enough to invest that time for 24 or 25 episodes. I don't know. So that was my experience. It was not the supernatural horror that I wanted. Similar to, not similar, but in a different vein than Mieruko-chan from a couple last year or the year before, where the ecchi elements just overwhelmed the horror aspect, and I was done. So this one, the comedy seems out of place for the horror elements, and I'm kind of done. Jessica, take it away.
Okay. For me, I really only laughed out loud at one point, and that's when the little stuffed animal that she was carrying got completely eviscerated in the haunted phone booth. That was pretty funny. And the reaction of the characters was to flee. And normally in horror movies, the reaction would be, we have to go and investigate the little bunny that just got torn to shreds because we are dumb. And so I liked that little twist. But other than that, most of the jokes fell flat. I understand that humor is very subjective. But the other thing that really bothered me is the little girl Yayoi. Her character design does not fit with anybody else in the show at all. And that's not her eyes notwithstanding. I mean, she has these oversized boots, really weird looking cowlick, electric purple hair, which purple's my favorite color, so that's nice, but it just does not match anybody else. And the cynical part of me thinks that maybe that was done for merchandising. That she's a very merchandisable character, and she's so recognizable that the whole point of this show was to sell merch of her character, maybe. I don't know if that was true, but that's just kind of the vibe that I was getting from her. And I don't know, I like Albert, was also disappointed. I thought it was going to be more horror-y, and instead it's a comedy using horror as the set dressing. So perhaps if you know that going in, you'll enjoy this more, but it's not for me.
All right, thank you. I'm happy I didn't watch it. I'm guessing. It doesn't seem like something I would like. I do like horror stuff, but I don't think it has anything that would pull my interest in, at least.
Yeah, it's kind of half and half. So again, it seems to be fairly popular, but I don't know about the longevity. And it has decent production values, but yeah, overall, I decided to drop it after episode 2. So give it a shot if you're interested, in any kind of horror, the horror genre, because it's far and few in between an anime.
All right. So let's go to our next title, which seems like everyone is unanimous in the we're dropping this or we're not finishing it. Or we didn't just watch 3 episodes. Which is let me see if I can pronounce this right. Dekiru neko o kyo mo yutsu? Or
Yes.
yeah, the masterful cat is depressed again today is how they have it translated. And this is from Studio Gohan. When I saw that, I became instantly sad because I remember still Handshakers,
Mm-hmm.
Oof.
and it's just really bad. Like, I don't know where they went wrong. Like, I remember watching K and saying K was good. I liked K. K was
Yeah,
decent.
I like K too. I mean, it was original. You know, the animation was interesting. The color palette was interesting, but once they really cranked up the CG elements and went full CG, Handshakers was a wreck, and Wiz was also a wreck. I watched one episode and it was giving me a headache.
Yeah, so I mean, it was funny because as we first started watching it, everyone was excited to see this giant cat, but it seemed like the intro took 3 minutes just to doing
Oh my
montages of
God.
the backgrounds and the city and just showing us all these cool
Oh.
camera panning and angles.
It was horrible. I just, oh my gosh, it was a very bad decision to do that. And also the color palette is completely wrong for a comedy, right? It just everything looked sad. The city looked sad, the characters looked sad, and maybe that's why the cat is depressed, is because he inhabits a world animated by Gohans. But it just
Nice.
thanks. It just does not have that warmth or cheerfulness that you need in a comedy. And that intro, why are we following all of these random people going to work?
So,
Shouldn't-
Jessica, did you
Sorry.
realize that one of them is not random? The car scene, right? There's a car, and then you see the spinning camera work around that one car and the guy talking. That's her boss.
Oh my gosh, I did not make that connection at all because the camera angle and stuff, I'm just, why are we doing this? Why is the camera spinning this way? I am nauseated.
Yeah, I was the
Oh.
same. Someone had to point it out that no, that's not a random guy in the car. That's actually someone in the office. I'm like, what?
Wow.
So distracted by what was going on. Right. So they do the typical Gohan's things. It's complete unnecessary camera work, spinning around and all that with weird low angle shots with it looks like people are gigantic, you know, from the looks like a mouse or a flea angle of people
Mhm.
walking,
See,
their legs stretching out into the horizon.
see, when I saw that for the first time in K, it kind of made sense because that's kind of like how that skateboarder thing is, right? All those videos you watch for skateboarders, and that's what
Yeah.
they were doing it
Mhm.
with, right? Following that skateboarder around town, and it made sense for that. But just doing it because, oh, we're just going to show you all the what we can do with our animation, it didn't work.
Yeah, I don't mind creative camera angles and whatnot as long as it fits what your show is, the theme of your show. And here it was just almost like a tech demo. Look what we can do. Look what our team can do. Or what is it? The reels that they have for actors and stuff. Oh, look at my acting reel. That's kind of what it felt like. I know that's not the case because it's a huge anime production that would be very expensive for a demo reel. But it just, because it did not fit at all with the setting and the tone of the episode, it just, ugh. Okay, yeah, I have nothing else to say except for ugh.
So I guess we didn't actually describe what the story is even about. So the story is about this office lady you find out quickly that she is living with a cat, and by cat I mean a gigantic cat that is about 7 feet tall, walks up on two legs, but it's still a cat. It's not a cat person. It's not anthropomorphized cat. It's a cat that is just basically human sized. Well, very big human sized. And he is named Yukichi and does all the house chores. Takes care of her when she comes home drunk. He cooks for her, does all the shopping. It takes out the garbage. And for some reason, no one seems to bat an eye. I'm like, what the hell is going on? So he takes out the garbage, and the landlady is, "Oh, Yukichi, that's very nice of you. Or you're gonna take mine too." Like, what is going on? So I watched actually episode 2. The camera work and the CG work is toned down compared to the first episode, but it's still there. And then Yukichi goes shopping at the supermarket, and everyone thinks he's in cosplay, right? So no one's taking it seriously that he's an actual cat, and no one actually knows why. She doesn't know why he's become a gigantic cat, but he is taking care of her. This is kind of like, as Sean said, reverse Senko-san, right? Because in Senko-san, the fox spirit, the fox spirit takes care of that salary man who works for a black company, right?
Mhm.
And then this one, she doesn't work for a black company, but she is clearly very busy and limited on time and is not able to take care of herself because her apartment used to look like a pigsty. And so when he comes into her world, he's like, well, I need to take care of her or else she's not going to feed me. So he just becomes big and takes care of her, which is weird. This is weird premise. And I'm sure it's a cute manga that's based on. I've seen some panels for it, sure. But I don't know why Gohan's picked this up for their studio, to animate. This does not make sense. It's a slice of life. I guess you could call it a Iyashike, but I'm not even sure that applies. It's just weird. Just weird. And so I watched 2 episodes and I was not impressed. I wasn't sure where it was going. It didn't seem to have a strong story direction. If it's just a slice of life, I don't need to see a cat take care of his master in that way. So that's it. What you guys think? Did you guys watch it, Dragon?
I think we only watched like 1 episode, right? Or did we watch 2?
I believe we watched 2.
Okay. I think I just I remember we were watching that first episode, and like like it had like the most, like, we saw the cover image. I was like, oh, this looks so cute. And then like I started hearing from like Tank and Vinny about the studio, and they were and then Tank showed me some of their previous work. I was like, oh gosh, what are we in for with the CG work then? And then the first episode happens, and then like I was like, okay, like animation doesn't look bad so far, and then that's when all the CG stuff hits, and it's just like, oh gosh, why did they do this? And then I think if we can only just focus on seeing like the animation between like the characters, I think it would have been fine. But because of how much like CG they were putting into it, I was just like, I just was getting turned off. I was like, I really enjoyed like all the like the dynamics of like the characters trying to interact with the cat, but I don't know. I might just start reading the manga instead, just because I do find the story interesting, but I don't want to deal with seeing all the CG.
Okay, fair enough.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's go to the next one, which the next title, which I think, what's it called? AU, right? Where's the A's? Where's the E's? There it is. AU Kyoshitsu, which is Classroom of for Heroes. So we got your fantasy class high school theme going up. It starts off with like the demon lord and the hero fighting, and it looks like they defeated each other at the end. They both stabbed each other and they're both perishing. And then we're thrown into this, I guess, the future, and we're in a school for swordsmen, and I don't know, I can't remember what they were for, if it was to become a knight or heroes in training, I think it was, or something weird like that. And this new boy just shows up out of nowhere and just starts going up to everyone. Hey, my name is whatever. Want to be my friend? Want to be my friend? His whole thing is like, I want to make 100 friends, and people are kind of like, okay, this guy's kind of weird, but he's friendly. While others were kind of upset with him that he's not taking this school serious, that he just wants to make friends rather than, you know, be the proper mindset for training to become a warrior or fighter or whatever. And you realize later on that he's actually was, I don't know if he's reincarnated or what, but he's like one of the heroes, and his hero powers are gone. So one of his biggest dreams was just to have a normal life. So that's why he's going to the school, to just live a normal human life, whatever that is, in the school. And of course, he's meeting all these different members in the school, and it seems like he's just going to be one of those, oh, this girl has a problem, I'm going to help the girl. And then later on, oh, now she has romantic feelings for me. Yay. Next girl type of thing, you know what I mean? So, granted, it's not an isekai, so it's got that going for it. They at least took that element out. But it's just your average, you know, like, I kind of want to say, what do they call those? Like the Black Clover type of things, right? Where the boys just, except for instead of like in Black Clover where they're trying to become the strongest or become powerful, this guy just wants to be friends. So an action fantasy. That's it. That's all the show is. And I could see it having fans and having it's a group of people that would watch it, but overall, with everything else that's out there, I'm probably not going to continue. Next up is another show that I'm kind of interested in, because I heard it takes place in the US of A. So I heard them talking about it during, I think, Annie Fest online last year in November, which is Strange Fake, right? And it seems like Albert's the only one watching it, so.
Well, there's only one episode. I don't think it's the full series. It's just like a preview episode because nothing else has come out. So, yeah, this is another Fate nonsense. And by America, you mean some random city, and I don't even know where in America it's supposed to be. Somewhere in the Southwest, it looks like. And yeah. So in this one, it kind of follows off of the case files of Lord El Malloy, which was the following what was the title of that show? So it's set at the clock tower, right? And you're following the kid that was the master of Rider and Fate Zero. and he's become an adult. He's a professor at the clock tower, and he's got a bunch of kids. And so information comes to him that someone is trying to recreate the Holy Grail War, this time in America. And so one of his students catches wind of this, and he's like, I want to go participate. Like, you're an idiot. I'm not taking this seriously. But the kid is super talented. Also, I believe he's voiced by Kirito. So there's that. And then it's a bunch of nonsense. So the Americans are trying to recreate only partially the Grail War so that they can, get to the Grail and have a wish granted, I guess, is how it seems like. Except, of course, things are going to go sideways because there are things they don't plan for. And you have the typical participants from previous Fate franchise, and most obvious is Gilgamesh shows up. But apparently in this Grail War, there is not going to be a saber class. So you have I think the summoning of Assassin and Rider, and wait, who is Rider? I think it's Enkidu, actually. So yeah, there's all these things that come in from all the previous, and if you had not watched any Fate, you would not have a clue what the hell is going on. So, I know it's ongoing. Is it ongoing? Yeah, I think it's an ongoing light novel. There's a manga adaptation of about 3 or 4 volumes. I'm gonna go pick it up or find it and read to see what the hell is going on. But I think that's the basic premise. There's gonna be a fake Grail War set up by the Americans, and will. Even at that stage, it will go sideways because just looking at the cast of characters, there's supposed to be the 6 classes, not 7, so excluding the Saber class. But it looks like on the summary, there are other classes that show up that are not part of the standard 6. So I have no idea. I'm pretty sure everyone screws up and they go sideways. So there you go. It's a fate thing.
All right. I'm going to have to watch the video to hear that. But... let's go to the next title. How do you say this? Wait a second. Let me pull up the title card. Okay, here it is. Genjitsu no Yohane, Sunshine in the Mirror. Surprisingly, I'm watching this. I did not know it was a Love Live Sunshine spinoff.
That one.
Yeah, so I guess these are characters from Love Live Sunshine. I'm not too sure who each character is, as I never watched the Sunshine edition or part. So I'm not too familiar with which characters are who, but it was kind of funny that we made a joke that this was kind of like, it had this like very Pokemon feel, like a Pokemon movie feel, and so that became the biggest joke, that this was Love Live Pokemon among our group as we watched it. But it's such a strange world, because it seems like she used to live out in the I guess she would call it the boonies, right? Out in the middle of nowhere. And she went to the city to live her dream to become an idol. And we start off with her in the city with no money, and she's calling home because she needs money, and her parents are like, yeah, we're not going to do that. We're going on vacation, so we need you to come home, and you're going to be watching the store now. And with her having no money or anything, she decides, okay, I'm just gonna go home and see what I can take and then leave again. But as he gets home, she's met with I don't know what it is. It's like a large wolf or dog or something, and for some reason it can talk to her. I don't know if anyone can hear it talk because it seems like it only talks when she's around. I haven't really been paying attention 100%, to tell you the truth. If others notice she's talking, but they have a simple conversation, and the dog tries to convince her to stay while she wants to leave to become an idol. So as she's trying to figure out what to do, she ends up meeting an old friend and realizes that they're all, growing up and kind of living their dream while she's still stuck where she is. And by the end of the first episode, she goes to the forest where she used to hang out and dance and sing because of her dreams of being an idol. And she decides to do it again. And it's a beautiful dance scene, a beautiful routine that goes on. The animation was just wonderful. And for some reason, this magical cane appears out of nowhere from the stick she had. And that's kind of it. I don't know what's with that magic or what's going on. And now, in the next few episodes, she's just meeting her other friends and trying to come to terms like, I can kind of accept what's going on with my life. And also, she's trying to scam people to make money so she can leave. But I'm still having a hard time figuring out what's really going to happen in this world or what's really with this world. So that's kind of why I'm continuing watching it, and it's been somewhat entertaining so far. I mean, nothing in it's made me go, ugh, I don't want to watch this. But yeah, and you don't need any of the previous information of Love Live to enjoy this so far. That's all I have to say, I guess.
Okay.
We're gonna skip Hataraku Mao season 3 because it's not that interesting, I think, for a lot of people. And we're gonna go to, how do you say this? Helk?
Yeah, that's how the characters pronounce it, is Helk.
Helk? So
I don't know if this is based on a manga or a light novel or anything, but the premise is that this takes place in a fantasy world where a great hero has defeated the Demon King. And so the demons are trying to decide who's going to be the next Demon King, and they're holding a tournament in order to get the strongest demon to be the Demon King again and fight against the humans. And this random human guy enters into the competition. And the demons are trying to scramble around, figuring out a way to bar him entry, but he's really super powerful and he's besting everything that they can throw at him. So a lot of the comedy is just the two administrator demons running around trying to think of all sorts of bizarre ways or tasks that they can proffer as an examination for Helk to attempt to do and fail. And to give you an idea of how good they are at this, they decide to have a cooking contest. And one of the demons, the administrator, says that, there's no way that he will be able to do well at this contest because we've given him a tiny apron. And so there's this big He-Man looking anime character man who's cooking in a little tiny, teeny, tiny apron. And I don't know, I thought it was pretty funny. But as I was telling Dragon and Tank earlier before the hangout, that the humor's pretty dumb. And I like dumb humor. So this is pretty fun for me to just chill and turn off my brain and giggle along at the outrageous premise and watch these demons just go into conniptions trying to deal with the fact that a human is probably going to end up being the next demon lord. I've only seen 2 episodes. I think 3 is out now. So I don't know how long this story arc is going to go. But I'm having a good time. A lot of the humor does remind me of the 90s anime, because one of the demon administrators is a girl that when she gets pissed off, she destroys things in a fiery blast because she's fire magic.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very much slapstick humor from that era. But yeah, I don't have a lot to say. I wouldn't say run out and absolutely you have to watch this or anything. It's not that type of anime. But if you need something just simple and enjoyable, this wouldn't be a bad idea to check out for at least one episode.
So this is another one of those high dive titles that, and I'm just looking at it, and it's actually slotted for 2 cores too.
Really?
Yes.
Gosh.
So what was it? Dark Gathering was slotted for 25 episodes. This one's for 24.
Wow, okay, I did not see that coming.
Yeah, honestly, I didn't find it too interesting, and now that I'm looking at the cast, Helk, I'm sorry, from the image I saw on one of these posters, I thought it was a girl, just a macho girl.
Well, he's not wearing a shirt, so.
Well, all I see is that they got a cloak, and I don't know. I swear I've seen a character look like that was female. So that's why I think I got it in my head that way.
A genie from Rune Soldier Louis, kinda reminds me a little bit of him. But honestly, I'm getting a He-Man vibe from Helk. I think that's intentional. That he's supposed to be the quintessential muscle-bound fantasy hero guy.
So this is what you said. Instead of it being a slapstick humor, it's just dumb humor.
I mean, it's a mix of both. Because if you don't think that seeing He-Man in a dishcloth-sized apron try and cook is funny, this is not the anime for you. Because there's another point where he has to be on a steed for a race, and everybody's got dragon mounts. He has a blue kitten. And so it's just a lot of visual humor and stuff like that, I'd say, more than slapstick, yeah.
All right. We just got a message from Vinny, and so happy to see that he's still around. So we got you, Vinny. We got you. So stay strong and try to catch up when you can to the anime season. So is there anything else for Helk, or should we move on to the next one?
You can move on.
All right. The next title. Let's see. What does it start with? H. I'm going to guess it's this super long one. Oh, this just got visual novel written all over it, right? Or light novel, I should say.
Light novel. Light novel title.
Higeki no Genkyo to naru Saikyou Gedo last boss Jo wa Tami no tame ni tsuku. Wait, how do you say that? Tsukushimasu?
Yeah.
The most, how do you say that? Heretical? Last boss queen? From villainous to savior? How they have it translated? This is another one of those high dive titles. But this one, I'm actually a little more interested in. I haven't caught up to it, but I have seen at least 2 episodes. Is that how you are as well, Albert? When you put the hold?
Sorry. What was the question?
Are you like in 2 episodes into it as well, or are you just 1 episode hold? Because I thought it said hold.
Yeah, 1 episode, and then I watched part of episode 4 to see where it was. Yeah, this is another trapped in a otome game subgenre of isekai. So the princess suddenly realizes that she's in the Otome game she used to play, and she is the villainess. She becomes the horrible queen, and in all but the routes where the heroes fail, she will be killed. So she causes a lot of suffering and tragedy, and is ultimately defeated and killed. And she realizes this when she's, I think, 8 years old, right? And yeah, I've read actually part of the manga, which is what interested me in checking out the title. It's actually pretty well animated, and voice acting is just fine. I am on hold because I just want to know what happens. I just want to get over the part where they've already covered in the manga, and they're still on that. So I think there's 3 volumes out of the manga. It is based on a light novel, obviously, and the title pretty much is the summary of the story. So, yeah, it's how do I put it? It's semi-interesting. It's better than a couple of the other villainous. Not as good, at least of season 1 of all roads lead to doom, all routes lead to doom, with Bacarina. But here she's trying to be good now that she realizes what the character ends up being, but she's afraid that anything that she does, even though she's already made all these changes and for the better, and she's helping all her people, she just thinks that somewhere along the line she's gonna end up following the script of the game, and so she's constantly worried that something will happen that will force her to become this evil person, and so the others people in the setting do not see her that way. They see her genuinely changed to a caring would be as a princess, would be queen, and she is loved by all those that she interacts with, yet she is just afraid that she's going to ruin everything. So the problem with the story is you're not sure. There is no bad person to fight against, right? So there is no someone trying to trick them. There is no other boss, in the game that shows up. She's supposed to be the ultimate big bad person. So there's a lack of conflict. The conflict is just internal to her. So I'm not sure how well it's going to carry for 12 episodes. But if you like these villainous style isekais, then this is actually pretty well done.
What I would say about this show compared to the other villainous titles I've seen is that I think this one takes itself more serious than the others, because I don't really see too much comedy in this one. Like, all the other villainous titles I've ever seen have quite a bit of comedy laced in. Either the heroine doing, or the villainous doing dumb things and it being funny, or I think that was mostly for that all eight routes lead to doom. There was the other one where the girl got kicked out and sent to or she went to the demon realm or something like that. I can't remember. There's been quite a few of them, right? But they all seem to have some form of comedy laced in it throughout. And I didn't see too much of that in the first 2 episodes of this show. So it seems to take itself a little more serious compared to others, which I found a little more interesting. But I've only seen the first 2 episodes, I believe. I do want to watch more because it actually did catch my interest. I want to see if she does change fate and how she does. Because it seems that everything she's been changing has been working out for her, but also it's putting a lot of stress on her, which is, I kind of want to see how that turns out by the end. So that was that one. Dragon, did you want to talk about Hiromiya?
I'll talk a little bit about it.
This is called what is it called?
Hormia pieces or piece.
Pieces or piece?
I think it's just piece. But essentially, what this like season of Hormia is, it's like all the parts that they cut out when they were doing the run of Hormia. So it's like all of these episodes that, or like all the stuff that's happening in these episodes are supposed to be sorry, stuff that's happening in between the episodes from the season that they already did prior. And so like I think like if you've watched, Hormia before, and you liked it, you're most likely gonna watch this just because it's just, cute like filler stuff in between. And I'm not sure how, like, what parts they're going to be adding. I've talked to another friend and they said that they've cut a lot and they've actually cut out some important parts. So possibly some of those important parts are going to be animated in here. But from what I've seen so far, it's just been like really like cute, like wholesome, funny stuff.
All right. I was gonna ask like whenever we have these types of shows, like you definitely need to have seen the first season to be able to enjoy this, or can you just pick it up and start watching?
You would definitely need to at least watch some of the first season, just because like this season is already like established after some of the first season stuff.
All right. Thank you.
Mhm.
Let's go to the next show then, which is like everyone's highly anticipated show of this season. Jido Hanbak. Wait, how do you say it? Hanbaiki no Umare Kawata Ore wa Meikyo wo Samayo. I should have practiced that one. That one actually was kind of hard to say. Reborn as a vending machine, I now wander the dungeon. Now this comes from a light novel source. I believe there's 3 light novel books, at least out for translation. I don't know if they made more. I've read the first one, and I do own the other 2. I just haven't gotten to reading them. But it's one of those shows that they're trying to put a kinky twist into the isekai, right? So, we've got all sorts of different deaths, all sorts of different reincarnations, all sorts of different fantasies. Now let's change our main character into a vending machine. Yay! So, our main guy is, did they even mention his name? Or did it just call him Hako, right? The box throughout the show?
In English.
Yeah, and he's just finds himself next to a river, or not river, but I think a lake, and he doesn't know where he's at, but I believe and he ends up trying to observe, trying to learn his abilities, trying to learn what he can and can't do. He realizes right off the bat that he survives off of points. I can't remember what kind of points there were, but he earns them by selling items, and by selling the items and using points, he's able to do multiple things, such as repair himself, defend, get new product. We haven't seen the full extent of what he can do with all of it yet, but he's used quite a bit within the first 3 episodes. But he ends up running into how do you say it, Limus or Raminus?
Lamus?
Lamus? Is that how you say it?
Yeah.
And she just so happens to run into him. I can't remember why she was out there. I think she got separated from her group.
Yep.
And found Hakon and decided to use him, I guess. It's the best way to explain it, right? To purchase water and food, and realizes that by talking to him and using the functions of the vending machine to kind of reply, they kind of develop some kind of communication skills, and she decides to take him with her to the city within this dungeon that they're at, and also to kind of promise to bring him to this person she knows that does research on relics or special things in the dungeon. So so far it's just been Laminus and Hakon, everyday life, her bringing him around, helping out the city, and selling him different goods and going on adventures to sell food and stuff to make resources easier to transport during these adventures. Anyone want to add anything else?
Sure. It's a trend for the isekai to be reborn as items. So a couple seasons ago, we had that reincarnated as a sword, right? With the sword Chisho and Fran the cat girl. So similar to that, you have a whole bunch of isekais where people are being reborn as items or even places. We won't get into that for now. So yeah, it's a completely dumb premise, but it's surprisingly entertaining. So I am watching it. It's just I don't know how to put it, but it's dumb but entertaining. It's just well done, and kind of a surprise. I think of all the isekais this season, this is the only one I'm still watching, because all the other ones are just so generic and boring, and the typical self-insert of the MC. I mean, it's hard to identify as a vending machine, but they do a really good job. The main character, Boxo or Hakon, is voiced by Jun Fukuyama. He's really quite talented, a very, very smart person if you've ever seen interviews with him. But yeah, he's just doing a great job as Hakon. So it's entertaining, but it's also dumb. So just go in with that and have fun. That's it.
Yeah. The other thing about this, I think, that also makes it a little appealing, is that's not the overpowered character, right? So he does have to use his ingenuity to solve quite a few of his problems, because he's not almighty, right? He only has limited resources and limited things. So when he does find himself in a problem, it's kind of fun to see how he tries to solve it with his limited vocabulary and his resources.
Yeah. It's at least interesting.
Mm-hmm. You just reminded me now of that trend. There was another Reborn as an ASMR head anime.
Oh gosh.
It was funny. It was funny. It was like some kind of they had that, those microphones that look like ears on either side, and it took place in a high school for an ASMR classroom or club or whatever. So it was this really fun ASMR thing that went in this episode. But yeah, okay, let's go to the next show. You just reminded me of that when you said the Reborn as items.
There'll be I'm sure more coming. Next.
Of course. Next up is, oops, I clicked on Jitsutsu. This one's Jitsu wa ore saikyo deshita. Now this is one of those ones I was talking about, the OP protagonist of the isekai world. Right? It's translated, am I actually the strongest? I can't remember what led him to his fate to be isekai'd, but it starts off with our main character, Haruto, being born and then being measured by a magic device and realizing that his highest level he could ever attain is level 2, and that's just not acceptable for the family he was born into. So they decide to cover it up, saying that he was born dead, and they left him in a forest to die. And we realized that the measuring device can only measure up to 2 digits, and his power when he was reincarnated for his level was actually 1002. So he's actually way, way overpowered. But also because of his reincarnation, I can't remember if it was being hasty or just laziness. He also wasn't given any element or anything. He's just this kind of like a barrier master now kind of character, and he uses barriers for all sorts of different ways, and makes it's just stupid some of the stuff he can do. As a manga, I found this hilarious and fun to watch. As an anime, it's a little entertaining, but I think the manga did it way better. And but it's just him being adopted by can't remember, is he a duke or something like that? The Zemphis guy, and he's now raising him as his own child. He even has his own child called Charlotte, which is like the cutest thing ever. That at first is afraid of Haruto, but then realizing that what he can do, and she kind of has misunderstanding and kind of thinks that he's a hero of justice. So she overcomes her fear by believing that he's this overpowered hero that's there to save the world. So she now, with her antics, is kind of, I think, helps Haruto in a way, because Haruto actually has a very dark personality, I think, at the beginning. And even throughout the manga, you see some of his dark side appear, but because of Charlotte, he tries to keep things in a way that won't seem bad for this innocent girl to reflect upon, because he's supposed to be the hero of justice in her eyes. So I think that's kind of cool that she's there to help kind of keep him in check. But there's a lot of issues and stuff that are happening around in the territory that the father runs, and Haruto is secretly going around solving the problems. And of course, he has a special suit that he dons to do his hero task in, and it looks like what was his name? Zero? Was it Zero?
Zero.
Yeah,
Code Geass.
from Code Geass. I thought it was cool and funny as you're reading the manga, but in the anime, I don't like what they did to his voice. It's so stupid. It kind of destroys it, but overall, it's entertaining, but I can see how it's not for everyone. So I'm guessing you dropped it for, what was the reason you dropped it, Albert?
For all of the above. So, I mean, the manga is mildly entertaining with the Zero shtick, right, and all of that, but the animation is just poor. It's not good. It's just not good. And so it just is very below mid. And you know what? I'll just read the manga. It's a lot quicker, and yeah, I don't feel like following the anime. So that's why I dropped it after one episode. I gave it the one episode try.
All right. Next up, we got Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2. Oh, that's Jessica.
Am I the only one watching it? Really?
I watched the first episode. I haven't like continued it further just because I've been just focusing on other stuff. But I mean, from what I've seen, I've been enjoying it. Like I'm definitely gonna keep watching it at some point. I just haven't put in the effort to just go and click into Jujutsu Kaisen.
I really like it. I am normally not a binge watcher, but if I could binge this, I definitely would. Each episode leaves me wanting more. Um, it's a prequel to the events of the first season, and it's following the ever popular Gojo Sensei when he was a student at Jujutsu High. And what's really interesting is that the main villain of the first season is his fellow classmate. And at this point in time, he has not adopted the sorcerers are supreme type of ideology yet. And so I'm hoping that this series will tackle how he goes from um, being relatively normal to that radical line of thinking and philosophy. But if you are a Sakuga nerd, you have to watch this. I cannot overstate how amazing the animation is. This is just peak performance of Japanese animation, and probably the best looking show out of the entire season. So I don't know if you would be able to watch it without having watched the first season, because it relies on you knowing what curse sorcery is and kind of the basics of how it works. But the first season's pretty dang good, so I would recommend watching that and this if you have the time.
Did you ever watch the movie, Jessica?
Yes, I went to the theater to watch it. Actually, I dragged a couple of friends kicking and screaming.
So how does
And
how does this fit into that? Like, is it?
this is before the movie. So if I had to hazard a guess, it would be Jujutsu Season 2, then the movie, then Jujutsu Season 1 in chronological order. But I
Yes.
definitely think that you need to watch them in broadcast order, so watch Season 1, and then you could get away with watching Season 2 or the movie after that. I think they're pretty interchangeable in terms of the timeline.
All right. So is it all? Nothing else to add, or?
Not really. I mean, since it's a season 2, if you weren't sold on the first season, there's not a whole lot that's gonna make you want to watch this unless you just want to go for the Sakuga. Really, if you don't want to sit through all of the episodes and whatnot, I highly recommend looking up online clips from this show. There are amazing fights, jaw-dropping fights even. You owe it to yourself to at least look into those.
All right. Maybe I'll just message you and say what episode, what time. So.
The one that just aired was pretty badass, so I'd recommend that one.
All right. I'm gonna go speed through these next few because they're not really all that great. So we just watched the 3 episodes and yeah, that's it. So this one is level 1, Dakedo unique skill is Saikyo desu, which I believe. Go on, translate. My unique skill makes me OP even at level 1. It's another isekai. Guy finds himself in this new world, meets an adventurer or something in a dungeon. She helps him and realizes that his stats are at level 1 and he can't get any higher, plus all of his skills are rank F, the weakest. Or no, that's not his skills. His skills are that way, but his like special skills I think are like for gathering are rank S or something like that. So whenever he does actually defeat something, he gets the best of the best out of that drop. So using this ability with the adventure that he meets, they kind of start getting a better livelihood. They meet this bunny girl that loves his carrots, and he also finds a special dungeon that when he kills something, it drops a seed that permanently increases his stats. So he's becoming stronger even at level 1. That's the whole premise, right? Yay. Other than that, there's really nothing else to say about this show. It doesn't look great. It's not nothing really too special about it. Would you agree, Albert?
Yeah, it's not very good. The animation's kind of poor. The background's like non-existent. The story's kind of weird. You forgot to mention that every single item in the show comes out of a dungeon. Like food comes out of a dungeon. There's no one harvesting or farming. They kill things in the dungeon and they get like carrots and potatoes and whatever else it is. It's just a weird premise.
Yeah. So that's that show. Like I said, we're gonna go through these ones real fast. So next up is Liar Liar, which I thought was gonna be. It looks really cool at the start, but after watching more of it, it's kind of gotten bland. Liar Liar, this boy, I guess he's a transfer student, walking the island or the school grounds, and happens to chance upon this female who he doesn't know. She talks to her and asks if she could help him locate his way, and she agrees. And as they're walking to, I guess I can't remember if it's like the orientation of the school, I think it was, but she ends up being sprayed by a water sprinkler, and she assumes that he did it on purpose because of who she is. And supposedly she's the highest ranking student in this school, and this school just so happens to be run by a status referred to as the stars. The higher your star count, the higher your status. And she's a 7-star and the top of the school is never lost. But because of this misunderstanding, she challenges him to a game, and he kind of accepts and plays this game, and just so happens to win by just good luck, really, and her own downfall. And because of that, he ends up winning her special star, which she owned, which allows him to tell one lie that becomes like permanent or something like that, some weird premise like that, and he finds out that because she's also the chairman's daughter, that having a 1-star student like himself defeat the 7-star student would look bad. So he decides to use that star to put a veil over the class or the students to say that he's a 7-star student. So now he has to try to live his life through school as a 7-star student and not lose, but he's really a 1-star. So that's why I believe it's the Liar Liar show, because he has to lie about everything about himself now to survive. But he also has his own goal, that he came to the school for a specific reason. He's looking for someone, and I don't know who this one person is that he's looking for, but that's it. The games so far haven't been all that intriguing. I mean, it's like some games I've never heard of, and they have some special abilities to give each one their own extra hand, so games aren't that fun. So overall, I don't think it's going to be that great of a show for me. I guess Albert's the only one, right?
Sorry, I can't talk right now.
Good. We gotcha. We'll just go to the next one. Next up is another pretty strange show. Level 1 Mao to 1 Room Yusha, the level 1 Demon Lord, and the 1 Room Hero. Only saw one episode and it was not that great. The Demon Lord was defeated by the hero. She is now reincarnated, but she's like this little chibi runt kid that doesn't really have too much power. She's excited to go back into the world to defeat the hero, but then she finds out that the hero's a deadbeat that lives in his room, and she tries to go there to pick a fight, but he doesn't want to do anything with it. I can't remember what exactly happened in his life, but just things haven't been turning out. So it kind of seemed like she started taking care of him. But other than that, I didn't really see much else. It just didn't seem all that fun. It's another one of those high dive shows, but unfortunately, I feel like High Dive missed on a lot of their shows. And next up is a good show, though. This is a show a lot of us seem to be watching, and I bet everyone out there is watching as well. It came with an episode 0, which is Moshoku Tensei, what is it called? Isekai Itara Honki desu. So, how far have you seen, Jessica? Have you caught up to everything?
Yeah, I'm current.
So, what is it? Is it 3 episodes or 4 episodes right now? I think it's 4,
I'm not
right?
entirely sure. Let me look.
But we got Rudis. We're following Rudis. He's somewhere north. I can't remember where. I believe he's searching for his little sister, right?
Mom.
Or his mom. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy is down. Like he's in a bad place. Kind of made me think of that. What was it? The Oshinoko, the whole suicide thing, where he just whatever happened at the end of the first season hurt him really bad and has tanked his will to live. He ends up joining an adventure group for a task, although he wanted to do it alone because he doesn't want to be with people. He's in that dark moment, right? But he reluctantly joins the group, and they go out, and throughout this encounter he kind of realizes that with everyone fighting to try to live, that maybe he should also kind of fight a little bit as well. It was a decent episode, but it missed to me that oomph that first episode ever gave. That specialness. Even the magic that he ended up using didn't have that really cool feel that that first episode gave. How did you feel, Jessica?
I thought that they moved through his plot a little quickly. Is that we should have had... I think that arc should have taken a couple episodes, maybe 2 or 3 episodes, to show him in his funk, and that would have made him getting out of it at the end of episode 1 mean a lot more. Because from context clues, it wasn't really clear how long he had been with that party, but my husband, who has read the light novels, told me that he was with that party for almost a year before he finally made a breakthrough with his mental health.
Dang.
And I don't feel that was conveyed well, but the show is just so good outside of that. In the subsequent 2 episodes, I thought that they did a really good job of showing that, yeah, okay, he may have made a breakthrough, but he still has a long way to go. Is that he gets back into that depressive state pretty quickly and has to come out of it again. And so I like that. A lot of anime, it's you have your breakthrough and then you're fine as a character for the rest of the series. You are A-okay. And in this, it's showing the cyclical nature of depression, where you can have it and be really down for a really long time and then come out of it, but then you can just go right back into it. So while I think it could have been done better, it certainly wasn't done poorly. It just would have been nice to know, okay, how long has he been with these people? For that to hit a little harder.
But Neo Yama in our chat just said the guy makes his own problems.
Yeah, he does. He does, because the reason he's so upset is that he and Eris were together at the end of the first season, and she left him, but he either misinterpreted her note or she wasn't very clear in her note, but he took that to mean that they were breaking up. And so he's been in a funk because of that, which is understandable. This is his first major relationship he's ever had. So yeah, he's oh gosh. I think he's a very relatable protagonist in a lot of ways.
But I think another thing we tend to forget, I think, or at least I kind of took me a while to go, oh yeah, I got to remember, is that his life before this wasn't all that great either. Before he reincarnated,
No.
and he was also always in a dark place before that. So it's a lot easier for him to get into a dark place because his life now, he's trying to live it the best he can, but because he knows how bad it can get and how bad it was for him, he could slip into that dark place easily.
That is a good point to make, yeah.
Because I mean, I think even in the first season, there's quite a bit of moments where he almost quit because he just remembers in his previous life, why do I even try? Why put all this effort if it's not going to lead you to anything? Because in his life, he's already lived one life trying somewhat and failing.
Mm-hmm.
But now he's trying to live the best of it. But yeah, like you said, I think he's a really interesting character. And that fourth episode also shook me a little bit with how he broke down.
Yeah.
And this show has a lot of really good moments in it. Now, it's not in the sense of action. While there's some beautiful action that does happen sporadically, it's just the storytelling and how he's going through his feelings is what's been selling this second season, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, is there anything anyone else wants to add? Or they did have that episode 0, which also came out with it, which took place during the whole I can't remember what they call it, the disappearance or the great teleportation. I can't remember what they referred it to as, where everyone was separated, and it followed his friend meeting this noble. I can't remember what her position was, and becoming her new servant. So that was a kind of fun story to see what happened with that character during the whole incident of the second half of this season. But other than that, let's go to the next show, shall we? This next show kind of drives me crazy. Let's see if I can find it. Nanatsu. How do you say that? Nanatsu no Maken ga shihai suru? You dropped it, Jessica? I think
I'm not. Wait.
it's
Did I
called
put...
The Regan of the Seven Spells.
Oh, yeah,
Spellblades.
yeah. Okay, that's the English title. Yes, I dropped it like a hot potato.
Yeah.
It was very, we're totally not Harry Potter, guys.
That's
And
all we said.
And I don't mean that as, oh, it's set in a magic school, because Harry Potter is not the first book series to do that, nor will it be the last. But stop me if this sounds familiar. So a brown-haired, frizzy-haired girl thinks that ogres have rights when everybody else is all, nah, ogres totally don't have rights. There is a red-headed character who is the stupid best friend. There are a lot of similarities in this with Harry Potter.
Yeah, so
and oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say it's Harry Potter with swords.
Yeah, it wasn't even a, shall we say, an interesting riff on it, where it's not really bringing much new to the table.
The thing I did find a little interesting was that girl whose hair was black that turns silver or white, platinum, whatever color you call that. Um, she was kind of interesting, as you saw in the next episodes, where she's actually kind of seems like she's the reason she's fighting and the reason why she's out there is to find an opponent to fight to the death. Because to her, I believe she should have died, but she was denied that warrior's death. So she's looking for someone that can give her that warrior's death, and she finds it in the main character. But the main character doesn't want to do that, so there's that somewhat little bit of conflict there, which I thought was kind of fun. But the overall thing that killed the show for me was the way she talked with her Degozaru, 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 Degozaru.
I find that kind of cute, honestly. I have a soft spot for the Dagozaru characters.
Some characters I think pull it off, but in this show it just drove me crazy. Like I'll admit it happened in like that smartphone show, and I never saw a problem with it. But in this one, for some reason, it just drove me crazy. To the point, I think I was counting every single one in episode 2. And I was marking it down like, okay, we got 11 Degozadus now. Let's see how far we go. But with the exception of those 2 characters, the main characters, all the others don't interest me. I mean, maybe the one with the ringlets, because of how it seems the history she has with some other students. And maybe her power, because I think she's probably like an upper noble. But other than that, everything else hasn't seemed to be too interesting. So to me, this is probably going to be a drop. But I at least watch 3 episodes, and even the conflict that they're having with the fights and stuff haven't been too great to look at, except for that first episode with the that main fight. That was actually kind of cool. The other one is, did you want to talk about the Sacrificial Princess and the Beast King? Because that was actually from last season that started, right?
I think so. I, for some reason, thought it was starting this season, so I didn't know it was out last season. I'm dropping it. In a universe in which the Ancient Magus's bride exists, this just pales in comparison. Yeah. If we didn't have the Ancient Magus bride in our world, then this would have been fine. It's just Beauty and the Beast again. But I have a really hard time with some of the character designs. Look up Anubis and tell me it's not a rabbit. It just, ugh. But anyway, I don't have a whole lot to say beyond that.
All right, so that's I even forgot what title we were just talking about, but that's that show. It's a second core. I think it started a little bit late. Excuse me, I have hiccups. I believe it started a little late last season. I think it wasn't until 4 episodes were out for other shows when that one first episode came out. So it's a little bit behind. I think it only has 15 episodes.
Oh, maybe that's why I thought it wasn't out last season.
Because I did watch the first episode last season, and it wasn't as cool as I thought it was going to be. But let's go to our next isekai. We got another one, Okashi no Tensai. Sweet Reincarnation. It's got it right there in the title. We got this, I guess he was I believe he worked in confectionaries, where it kind of shows in his background where he's like making this sugar swan or this candied swan. I don't know what it was made out of, or a peacock or something weird. It was just some kind of birded animal. Maybe it could have been a phoenix from imagination, but the big confectionery they were working on ended up falling and killing him. So now he's reborn in this new world of fantasy. And he's I can't remember what position his family's in, like in the hierarchy, but he is considered a noble, and he now goes by the name Pastry. So but everyone calls him Pas, so I thought his names were kind of funny. But he's just totally infatuated with sweets, but of course this world, the sweets aren't there. So he's always dreaming and daydreaming about creating sweets, and Um, but he has his noble duties to attend to. But because he's a reincarnated person, he has knowledge far beyond his age. So I guess because of his influence and him talking to his father, he's actually helped his father develop this land that was suffering, and now they're kind of prospering. And at a certain age, he then goes to do this ritual, which will kind of bestow him magic. And in this ritual, I guess, which is supposed to be super hard, that a lot of people suffer, people go crazy because of it, because he's locked in solitude for as long as it takes. But because he's got sweets on the mind, he goes through it like with no deal while everyone's worried about him, and he's just sitting there like, ooh, cookies, yay, pudding, yay, and all these things in his mind. And he's awakened with this new power called replication, and you realize he can replicate all different types of magic and stuff. So, but because of that, he now has this new ability, and now a new issue happens in his in their theft. And so now there's bandits roaming around destroying things. So he, with his father and a bunch of other people, and for some reason they're pulling kids to help with this bandit subjugation, are all going out to defeat these bandits. And I'll admit, these first 3 episodes weren't too interesting. I was kind of halfway watching, and it wasn't that great. It wasn't until episode, I think it was 3 and 4, or maybe 4 and 5, that I actually started getting my interest. Because now he's talking to these other nobles, and where you would normally think the father, which is the head of the house, would do all the negotiations and pushing, all these nobles are being blindsided by this kid, because he's the one that's pushing things. He's the one that's bringing things up and putting the pressure on these nobles that no one would have expected. And it's been fun in that sense, where now people are like, who is this kid? How can this like 8-year-old put us in the back, put us on our backs and everything? So it's been fun in that way. And also they have to hide his ability, because they don't want anyone to know that he can replicate any magic, because they found out that's what his ability does. But he also learns that he can replicate images from his mind onto other things. So he's pretends that his ability is to make pictures. And that's what they've been doing so far. But it's been somewhat entertaining, but honestly, it's not that great of a show. But I'm probably going to keep on watching it, because I've been finding it fun.
Yeah. I remember when we were first watching it, I definitely wasn't focusing, and then like, I don't know, like for me, it's one of those things where it's like, it got like interesting later on, and it was only because like 10th year, like, oh, you should watch this part, Dragon, because it's very like interesting, and on like the discussion that the kid does, and I was like, okay, and then so we watched it, it's like, yeah, it is getting interesting, but it's like, it was like, what, that was like episode 3, right?
3 or 4, I can't remember.
Yeah, and it's kind of like that same feeling that I had when we did Yuri Is My Job. Like the first episode was kind of like eh, and then it's not until like we like you told me like, oh, you should watch this part. It's a little bit ahead of like, it's like a couple episodes in, but you should watch it. And then like we watched it, and it's like, oh wow, that got interesting. And then that's when I continued watching it. It's like one of those moments, like like there's a moment like in a little bit later into the show that it makes it interesting to watch. But yeah.
Yep. What's better than some other shows? Like, I've heard, what, you gotta wait till season 3 for JoJo's to get better? Instead of 3 episodes? I think the longest I've waited was 6 or 7 episodes, which was The Flower of Evil. Once that 7th episode hit, then I was like shocked. But let's go to the next title, which I didn't even know about. It's marked as a web series, but Jessica said it's all out on Netflix. It's called Oku.
Yeah, I was really surprised at this because there's another anime that Netflix is simulcasting called My Happy Marriage. And
Yes.
so, yeah, I assumed, which you're not supposed to do, that Oku was going to be the same thing, where they'd have an episode come out a week, or maybe they'd start with 3 episodes like Disney does sometimes, and then add an episode weekly after that. So I was really shocked when I pulled up the page and it had 10 episodes, and I'm just, wait a minute, did this come out last season? What the heck? But no, it seems like they were on the production committee and they just dumped the entire thing available on their site. So I'm the only one watching this, huh? Has anyone read the manga?
I've never heard of this before.
Okay. So strap in, boys. This anime is based on a manga by Fumi Yoshinaga that has won the Tezuka Cultural Prize, and I think the Manga Taisho, and a couple other awards. So needless to say, it's kind of a big deal. And it takes place in Edo-era Japan, where there is a plague, a pestilence that comes in. It's called the red-faced pox. Kind of like smallpox, but worse. And it only seems to affect men. And the men get sick and they die from this. It's really rare for a man to survive an infection with the red-faced pox unless they have natural immunity. And so what this means after a while, after the pox sweeps across Japan, is that women outnumber men 4-1. And as a result, institutions that were men only are now female only, just because there aren't enough men to fill in for all the roles and stuff. And so it's in this sort of setting that the story takes place. And the Oku is what kind of like a harem, you could say, that the emperor had at one point, and the shogunate might have had at one point. I'm not 100% clear on that. And so basically the manga takes a look at, I think, the beginning of the Edo period all the way to the end at the Meiji Restoration, and it looks at all of the shoguns during that time period. So you're going to be following characters for maybe 1 or 2 volumes, and then things happen, they grow old, time passes, and it's the next set of characters. So don't get used to people sticking around, is what I'm saying. And the events that occur tend to mirror our world quite a lot, but it's all on that pretext of, what if women were in charge? And I don't know, it's just, it's kind of gender bending, and it's really interesting, the power dynamics at play, how the culture shifts. The reason why Japan is isolationistic during this time period is portrayed as necessity, because we can't let the other nations know that we have no men. I would recommend this to history buffs. I do think the manga is better overall, because the anime is skipping a lot of stuff, a lot of little details that, because of their omission, might make watching it without the manga background a teeny bit confusing. But yeah, anyway, I do recommend checking this one out. It's pretty cool. Also, the Japanese is old and highly ritualized in some places, so that's fun to hear and listen to.
Would you say you have to have any kind of information on the period to understand some of the stuff that's happening, or can you just go into it without like any of that historical information?
I think you can go into it without that historical information. It's certainly, at least for me, being a total history nerd, a lot more fun because I can be, oh, that's the guy that wrote this treaty that screwed over this remote province in Japan 500 years ago. But that's not necessary for you to enjoy it, no.
Okay.
Yeah. It's pretty accessible in that regard.
All right. Let's go ahead and move on to the next title. I think I might try to check it out. What surprised me with it being a full drop that it was full episodes, right? Not shorts.
What, for Oku?
Yeah.
Oh, I should say that the first episode is an hour and 40 minutes long.
Ooh. Wow. Okay.
Which I did not know going in. I didn't pay attention. So I queued it up and thought, okay, let's try the first episode. I'll be here a half an hour. And then as the night wore on, I'm going, this feels like a really long half hour. And so I brought up the time and well, oh my gosh, this was more than I was willing to commit. But episodes after the first one seem to be within the normal anime time limit. I've only watched the first two. Despite it all being out, I have not binged it. But just as a word of warning going in, the first episode is feature length.
Okay. Thanks for the warning.
Hey, no problem.
Next up, we got Raiza no Ateria, Tokoyami no Jo to Himitsu no Kagura. Wait, how you say that? Kakurega? So, Atelier Raiza, which I believe is based off of a game, right? That's on multiple platforms and it has something to do with alchemy, right?
I've played the games. I have not seen the anime, but yes, that is correct.
The biggest thing that I was told beforehand going into this show was thighs, thick thighs. That's all I was told. And that's what this show is known, or a game is known for. And I will have to say, the thighs are focused quite often in this anime. The first
I'm
episode.
pretty sure they have a quota for the number of thigh shots per episode. They must have.
It seems like it. I mean, it's there's quite a lot of them, and mostly of the same girl. And I'm not too sure on the game. Even the people we have watching with us haven't gotten far in the game that they don't know how it compares so far because they've only started it. But overall, it seems to be decent. I can't say it's amazing or great except for the thighs. But we're meeting a large cast. And it seems that it's taking focus on this island that they're living in. And the three kids, which I believe are called the three troublemakers of this island, all have their own agendas and own wishes. And one wants to learn ancient language to read these books. One wants to be a warrior. And the other, she has really no focus in her life until she meets the alchemist. And she realizes that she wants to become an alchemist. And so it's focused on Raiza, I believe her name is, as she pursues her journey to become an alchemist, while her friends also try to learn from the newcomers on this island to become the warrior and also to read this ancient language. And we do have some others characters that have joined on this island that they're becoming friends and becoming close to. But overall, it's just next episode, what should I gather? What can I gather? What adventure can we go on? And what can I make with alchemy? Anything else anyone wants to add?
I think it suffers from the same thing that Grand Blue Fantasy had. That it's a game adaptation, and it's following the gameplay a little too much. So I find the pacing to be slow, and then the characters seem not very focused. They're not very interesting. Riza herself is kind of dumb for the most part. She just does dumb things and is kind of giving off the airhead vibe, which is not what you want in your main character. It's fine if you're in the game because you are the stand-in. She's just the character you're controlling, but in the anime, she should have a stronger personality instead of, I don't want to do farm work, I'm going to run away and go on an adventure, even though I'm totally unprepared. So she just comes off as a spoiled brat. And even with the alchemy thing, now that it's kicking in, I just feel like she's not. So each episode, it seems like she's learned a lesson, right? And she comes out and says it, but in her actions, it doesn't seem like she's learned her lesson. So I don't know if it's just because it's a game adaptation or what, but I see this over and over where it's just not holding my interest. It is pretty, but it's just too game-like. Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Next up, we got I'm having to scroll down a lot now to get here. Sorry. This title. Seija Muso Salaryman Isekai de Ikinokuru Koru Tame ni Ayumu Michi. That's a long title. And then they just translate it to the Great Cleric. So, yeah. This is based off of a light novel, which I've been reading. This is on J Novel. I've read about 5 of their books. So I've actually read a lot of this. And surprisingly, all of this takes place in chapter 1. So everything we've seen so far. The first 3 or 4 episodes. I think it's 3. But that's kind of misleading in a sense because for some reason, if you read the light novels, the whole first book is called chapter 1. And then when you go to the second book, it goes chapter 2. And then chapter 3 within the second book. Chapter 4 has chapter 5. It's just really weird how they've numbered everything. And within these chapters, they also have their numbers like part 1, part 2, part 3. So the book is really confusing when it comes to all that. But the anime has been following it somewhat decently. The animation's somewhat different compared to a lot of shows we've seen. This one has, I think, more elongated faces. They have longer noses, which I think kind of throws me off a little bit compared to what I'm used to with the round faces, right? But I think it's to convey that these characters are more mature or older. But then again, I don't know how old a lot of these characters are, and our main character, I believe, is reincarnated to be around 15. But he kind of seems a little bit older based off of his actions, and it makes sense because he's been reincarnated, right? He's from another world. They do kind of skip on some information I thought was kind of important, and things are going pretty much the same way I remember in the light novel. Just the small information that they kind of left out is that I believe they never mentioned that when he was reincarnated, he's not the only one being reincarnated. There's multiple people being reincarnated. While the anime seems to make it out that he's the only one that's reincarnated. And our main character is also very much a scaredy cat. He doesn't like pain. He doesn't want to die. He's afraid of death now because he's already lived it once. Or didn't live it, I guess you'd say. So his ability that he chooses for himself is to be a healer so that he won't have to worry about death. But he finds out that healers, everyone hates them. No one likes the healers. Why is that? Because healers have been ramping up the prices of healing and makes it hard for anyone to try to get any healing done. And if they do, they'll be left broke or turned into slaves or something like that. But he has no knowledge of this at the beginning. He joins the Healers Guild. He doesn't know why he has so many people hating him. But because of his fear of death, he decides to go to the Adventurers Guild to try to hire someone to train him so that he can learn some fighting skills. And they somewhat agree to pull him in, but his fee would be to heal everyone that has a problem. And he kind of forms this agreement and this mutual bond with the Adventurers Guild to train to become stronger, as well as healing everyone there, which has benefited everyone and has made him like kind of the hero of all of the adventures because he's saving so many lives now. But the anime is doing a okay job in showing the story, and it's been a little fun. But it is, I think, a hard show to kind of recommend. But if you love the isekai and character building, I think this one might be one of those, because he's not OP at the start. He's actually very weak. He can't even defeat anyone he meets. So at least we have that no OP adventure life start. Next up is one of my favorite ecchi anime of the season. That's not too ecchi, I guess you could say, which is Shinigami Bochan no Kuro Maid Season 2. And the reason I call it ecchi is the maid. The maid is always making passes and doing a lot of stuff to sexual harass the Bochan, as they call him, or the Duke. I think they call it the Duke of Death, right? And he's always being flustered. Now, this show is heavily influenced by the first season, so you definitely need to watch the first season to understand what's going on. I think I even have to revisit the first season because they started talking about some stuff that I don't remember happening. So I might have to go back and try to get some filler back. But overall, it's just a continuation of where we left off. Anyone want to add anything else?
Are you finding it weird that there's all these insert songs that the two of them are singing?
Yeah.
So I think there's 2 or 3.
Yeah, we were kind of making fun of that. It's kind of made it come a musical because like every single episode has one. It seems, right?
Seems that way.
Because I remember there was only one near the end of the season where he was playing on the piano with the girl. They were singing with each other. But it that kind of made sense because they were kind of having this moment on the piano. But these other insert songs are kind of just out of nowhere.
It's a little distracting.
Yeah, but as far as everything else goes in the show, I think the quality and everything has pretty much been the same. Everything looks the same. The animation is moving along just as well as it was the first, so there's no big difference there. I will say that the opening kind of threw me off because it looks so similar to the first one. But yeah, Alice is still number 1 in our hearts for that show. But I think what was her name, Clef, she's becoming a pretty interesting character now. And I can't wait for the next episode with the circus. And they are introducing a lot more new characters. I should say new witches, I think, right?
Yeah, I believe so. And you can see some of the new characters in the OP, I think. They show up in the OP, or the ED. I think it's the OP. But yeah.
Yes, the OP. Let's go ahead and go to the next episode. Or, sorry, series, I should say. So that was... this next show is called... Oh, did I accidentally pull up the wrong one beforehand? Because we got Shiro Seijo Tokuro Bokushi next. I think I had the wrong title up beforehand. My bad. But this is retranslated to Saint Cecilia and Pastor Lawrence. And so far for this show, this is my feel good show. This is my calming show because after watching some of these other shows which have left me crying, which is some marriage series, I kind of put this show on as a follow through to build my happiness back up. We got the Saint Cecilia, which so happens to live in this village in a remote area with the Pastor Lawrence. And Lawrence, growing up as a kid, was taught that the saint is something that he must protect, something that he must always look after. So he's become this like overprotective parent to her, while she has obvious feelings for him. And Evans gets jealous of like I can't remember what they are, spirits or angels or something that kind of hang around him. So you'll see her always kind of running up to him, going, get away from him. He's like, huh? Because he can't see anything, but she sees it. And also she tends to show her true self to him, where she's like this lazy girl that just wants to relax and just not have to put up this front in front of everyone. So when they're alone, she's just laying loosely in the pews, just not doing much. But as soon as someone enters through the door and he turns to look at her, she's all poised and just the perfect saint you could expect. So it's been kind of fun to see how these two are going to, if a relationship does bloom from it. If it does, I would kind of be happy because you don't see that happening much in these type of shows. It's always just mutual back and forth of I have feelings, but we shouldn't, or I can't tell, I'm oblivious to your feelings, but she'll keep on pushing no matter what. But it's a nice feel-good show. No one else was watching it? Aw, sadness. If you want a healing show, I would kind of suggest that. It's got a saint, come on. Next up, which I've only seen the first episode of the new series. So I honestly thought it was a whole second season, but it's just a core continuation, which surprised me. I thought it was season 2, but nope. It's a continuation of core season 1, which is Sugar Apple Fairy Tale. How do you say that?
Yeah, Sugar Apple Fairy Tale.
I really don't like that the seasons are split into 2, even though it's a different core. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Yeah, it threw me off because I was going on Crunchyroll like, where's season 2? Season 2. Oh, there's no season 2. What the hell?
Mm-hmm. And there doesn't seem to be a rhyme or reason why some shows are, oh, it's a season 2, and then others are, oh, it's season 1, part 2.
So it made sense back in the day when it first happened because of COVID, right? They had to split it.
Yeah.
But nowadays it's kind of like that's a strange way they did that. But Jessica, I believe you're the only one that's up to date. Like, what's been going on? Is it...
You mean, well, it takes place directly after the last episode of the first season. There's no preamble, there's no introduction, so it really does feel like it should have been a 24 episode or 26 episode season without the break in between. Because if you start here, you are going to be completely lost. So I don't really have a lot to say, because if you haven't watched the first part, or if you did and you didn't like it, there's nothing really here for you in season 2. Or, damn it, part 2 of season 1. Ah.
Okay, so I think we'll just push past that. Basically, what we're saying is, if you saw season 1, now you can see what happens after the whole conflict at the end of season 1, or part 1. Next up is Tsukina. Wait, how do you say this again? Tsukina ko ga megani wo wasureta. Oh, another Studio Gohans. This is the other one. This is the other terrible show of the season that I kind of wish wasn't terrible compared to the cat one. Like, the cat one I can forgive, it's not so bad as this one. Have you seen this, Jessica, at all?
I have not.
Oh my god.
It looked interesting, but then I saw that Gohan's was attached to it, and I fled.
Watch the first episode. It's amazing on how bad it is compared to that cat one.
Wait, really? It's worse?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
How does it shake again, or how does it stack up next to Handshakers? Is it that bad?
No.
No, nothing could surpass Handshakers, but yeah, I yet again have no idea how Gohan's got this property, because it's based on a manga, and there's no reason for a full CG, total rotating, weird angle, fisheye lens treatment of a slice of life rom-com. So yeah, the first episode is something to behold. I'm sure people have clips of it, but it's it's a rom-com. The problem isn't just Gohan's; it's also the pacing of the show, I feel like, and the story and the internal monologue that works in manga doesn't really work in anime. So the MC-kun is interested in the girl that sits next to him in class. She's kind of an airhead, and for some reason continuously forgets her glasses, even though they plot-wise make excuses of why she's forgetting glasses. And she's legally blind. I mean, she has to be a few centimeters away from the book to be able to read anything. But they excuse that because, she lives right around the corner from school. How you forget that, or why, I don't know. But so he tries to help her out and becomes, close to her in that way. But a lot of it is he's the typical, I can't, I shouldn't be too forward. But I want to help her. But, the complete analysis paralysis of what he should do. And all of that is internal monologue. So it's just a frustrating experience where you just want to smack him on the side of the head and say, just say it. So, yeah, that combined with the Gohan's animation is just utterly bizarre to me. So I'll just go read the manga. Thank you very much.
They did a lot of these really weird things, I think, to try to show their, I want to say, hair animation, because they always have these scenes where she's bending over and then you see all these strands of hair just slowly drape down and flow. Kind of made me think of like Chitanda from Hyoka. They were like trying to imitate some of those hair scenes that they did with her. Maybe. But
it is over the top. hair animation in full CG. So
I have a question with Gohans in general. Is the studio definitely has a visual style? Is it the same director that's doing all of this? Or
that
is
is a
this
good
just
question.
something that they've decided as a studio is going to be their version of the Shaft head tilt? Because this is just downright distracting.
Okay, so
And go ahead, Tank.
sorry, I just did a quick look up for direction. It's done for this one and this previous, or the other show this season is by the same person. Yokomine Katsumasa.
So he's doing both this one and the cat one, and did he do Handshakers as well?
No, it's just only these two, and I guess he did the Set Tokai Yakumindomo movie too.
I haven't seen that one.
Actually, weird. My anime list lists two different directors.
Well, that was the direction. Sorry, Chief Animation. Wait, what am I looking at?
No, I think you were Yokomina Katsumasa is listed as director, but so is Susumu Kodo.
Oh, that they have it listed here as
Or
Chief
Kudo.
Direction.
Oh, okay. Weird. Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of their signature, but it doesn't make sense to do this in a slice of life. I mean, they should be doing it on some sort of like sci-fi or, mecha action, not this.
Exactly. This just does not match the tone. Because anywhere else, if they did do a sci-fi, some of the fisheye lens stuff would be kind of cool. If say a character was feeling unmoored or really stressed out or something,
or cyberspace or something. Yeah,
something where it makes sense. But if this is just a slice of life school comedy, what? Damn it, Tank! I'm gonna have to watch this episode.
Okay, so here it shows Chief Animation Direction, Furuta Mokoto, and that person worked on Handshakers, and Uchida Takuyuki worked on Handshakers as well. So they did K as well, and this show and the cat one.
Yeah, so it's something to do with the entire studio, right? So I don't know. I don't know. It just hasn't been good.
I feel sorry for the mangaka then, because this is their big shot to have their work animated, and Gohans is just
So that
would not be my first pick.
that picture I sent you. That I just so happened to catch that by chance, and but I don't know why it stood out to me, but no one else caught it. Where the frame is not like snapped to the side; it's off, so you can see where he's coming into frame, but he shouldn't have come into the frame at that position.
Yeah, that is just bizarre because this has to go through so many hands in the production process, and that nobody caught it.
And another friend of ours, I think Neo, which is in our chat, Neo Yama, also questions the frame rate of the CG if it's not in line with the animation, because some areas it like looks off and it chops or a little bit choppy, as it does its camera panning.
That's pretty typical, though. A lot of the anime that use a blend of 2D and 3D CGI, the CGI is on a different frame rate from the hand-drawn stuff. Couldn't tell you why. It is, and it drives me nuts a little bit.
But Albert did give us the whole premise, I believe, right? So yeah, like Neo Yama also goes crazy with how blind she is. He's like, there's no way she would be that close with how thick her glasses are, and stuff like that. And it's just ridiculous how she's. I will admit, though, it did have some moments where I was like, ooh, this looks nice. Like, there's this one moment where she tried to open her eyes and just turned to the boy, and it was kind of beautiful, actually. So it does have these small moments, but overall, it's like, nah, it's not good. Let's go to another show that's somewhat better, but also shouldn't be. Because we got our pure, I forgot the glasses show. And then we got this show called Temporu, which is our ecchi show of the season. And as far as ecchi, I mean, lucky skebe moments, right? Guy falls over somehow, hits the girl, and all of her clothing are miscued, and you can see parts that we shouldn't be seeing, right? Happens quite often in this show. The main character, I can't remember what happened with his parents, but I guess his parents, or maybe it was his father, was like a giant playboy and messed around a lot, and kind of left him in this situation where he vowed that he will never be like his father. So he was a very studious student, trying to get a proper job, trying to live a very wholesome life. He would be invited to mixers and stuff, and he would never go. But then he got bumped into by this girl and kind of fell in love at first sight, and kind of threw off his reasoning. He started going to mixers, started doing these things. His studies went down. He couldn't hold the job properly now, and he's just going in the gutter, and he realizes, I got to change my life. I promised I would never be this way. So contacting someone, I can't remember who he contacted, he was told to go to this temple, and I can't remember if he misheard the information improperly, but he decides to go to this temple, and he finds out that it's become a nunnery. But since he showed up unannounced, a lot of problems ensue with him running into the girls in different situations where he sees them kind of semi-nude and stuff like that, right? And he's beating himself over the head, impure thoughts, go away, impure thoughts. He wants to try to correct his life. But then he finds out that the girl that kind of threw him into this position lives there. And now he's kind of conflicted on what he should do, but he decides that he wants to change his life and live there, become a monk. And they kind of accept him, but at the same time, they were about to throw him out because of an incident, and they find out that his father had taken a loan from the temple, and so now the temple was in debt because of his father. So now they hold him responsible, and he's going to pay the debt his father brought the temple into and live there and take care of them, basically. So far, each episode's been one of the girls that had a bad first encounter with him are trying to figure out a way to get him picked out. And of course, certain stuff happens that maybe they didn't want to happen, and he's trying to find enlightenment, but in the end, he kind of finds a mutual standing with that person, and they become understanding of each other's circumstances, why they need to be there. So that's what's been going on so far. But I believe this is from the same mangaka that did the Grand Blue, or that scuba diving one, whatever you call that one, with the college students. But yeah, that's the ecchi show of the season. The next show is one that I thought a lot more people would like in our group, but surprisingly, it hasn't stuck. Which is Uchi no Kaisha no Chisai Senpai no Hanashi? Or My Tiny Senpai? You can't see that in the clouds, can you? I'll put it right here on the table.
So why did you think people would like this show?
Because I'm not saying people, I meant the people in our group when I said that. Because they tend to like that, I can't remember the other show's names, where the the small little person and the big guy.
It's like
My
fun,
senpai
right?
is annoying.
Yeah, that show. There's also another show that they ended up loving that was kind of similar. I don't know, just
Nagatoro.
no, I don't think Nagatoro has the same vibe as this, and I don't think they were into that one. It was more like what's that one with the girls with the foreheads as well? With the
Girl with the
What?
forehead?
yeah, the girl had a forehead, and the guy was like wanted to join the shoji.
Oh,
Club?
Ayumu, right?
Yeah.
Something like Ayumu.
So it kind of had a similar vibe, I thought, and I thought that's what more people of our group would like that, but surprisingly, not too many people have been interested in this. And it seems that a lot of our people have kind of dropped it as well. So it's just office workers. We got the tiny senpai that has, I guess the easiest way to describe it is Sugoi Dekai, right? And her encounters with her underclassmen. A love comedy, right?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, I don't really find it funny, so
Yeah.
supposed to be an office rom-com, but yeah, it wasn't very funny. And Senpai is just weirdly shaped. Like she has a huge head and several. Just she's like a doll with an oversized head, like a Funko Pop or something. It's just weird. So yeah, not very funny for me. So I dropped it. I think I made it through the entire first episode, unlike some of the others.
All right. Well, let's go to the next one then, because that one's not that great. But this one, what is this? I don't think I've heard this. Undead Girl Murder Farce?
You haven't watched it?
No, I have not.
Oh, dude, you need
Go
to
ahead,
watch
Jessica.
this.
Oh,
It's a lot of
really?
fun.
Oh, really? So what's it about?
I don't know honestly how to describe this or sell this. It does a lot of things, and it does them really well. Gosh, Albert, you're better at synopses than I am. Do you want to tackle this one?
So this is a kind of a weird show. When I first saw a synopsis about it, it intrigued me because it had kind of a supernatural angle to it. So I was looking for something besides Dark Gathering with a horror aspect. But so I decided to check this out. Technically, the genre is more of a mystery,
Mhm.
but it is kind of a historical supernatural setting. So it's several years into the Meiji Restoration in Japan, and the country has decided, all right, to become modernized, we need to get rid of all these supernatural things that have plagued our country. So they go on a purge, a genocide of all the supernatural creatures. So that's a weird kind of setting, but right away you know that there are supernatural creatures exist, right, in Japan, but also in the other parts of the world, it turns out. And there's a guy who is basically pit fighting against other supernatural creatures because he himself is part supernatural. And turns out that his power, Tsugaru's power, is that he is part Oni. And the Oni is at the pinnacle of supernatural creatures because they have the ability to stop the regeneration of other supernatural beings. So they can technically kill even the unkillable. So he's been doing this, and he's one day visited by a maid servant with a bird cage. And the servant is saying that she would like Tsuguru to kill her, and turns out that the birdcage contains a head, just the head of a very, very beautiful woman, and she apparently is immortal, but has lost the rest of her body because someone took it from her. And so she would like Tsuguru to use his powers of Oni to kill her, because she doesn't, even if she could recover her body, there's no way. Tsuguru makes a counteroffer, noticing that she says even if she could, so she does know who took her body. She just doesn't have a way to recover it. So he makes a counteroffer that he will go with her to Europe to recover her body and track down this person that took her body, because it's the same person that turned him into a half Oni. So that's the premise that shows up in the entire first episode. The rest of the show, there's 4 episodes out, is one big mystery with a vampire family, which you'll immediately get into. But it's got this gothic horror element. It's got supernatural creatures. It has historical characters from the late 18th, early 19th century. Wait, is that right? 18? No, I've got it wrong. 19th, late 20th, early 20th century. So at least in the synopsis of the show, or the list of character voices, there is a character named Sherlock Holmes, right? So apparently they will be meeting all these characters from around that time, interacting with them, possibly fighting them, possibly allying with them, as they try to go on this mission to find this mysterious M person who took Aya's body and made Tsuguru into a half Oni. So it's a lot of fun. I really like the banter between the two characters. I like the action scenes that they do animate are pretty well done, choreographed well, and kind of a unique fighting style for Tsuguru. So that's the premise. I'm really enjoying it, and I think Jessica is too. So why don't you say something about it?
Yeah, I definitely am. They're name dropping a lot of characters, as Albert pointed out, from 19th century literature. So you have Arsène Lupin, Sherlock Holmes. They allude to Frankenstein's monster, so you've got Mary Shelley references in there. And I have a feeling that all of these aren't just name dropping for the sake of it, is that they are going to come into the story at some point, because they're all in the public domain. I really like the comedy. It's kind of like that straight man, funny man type of stand-up comedy that's popular in Japan, where the undead girl is the straight man and her half Oni sidekick is the funny man, and they're just kind of trading verbal blows back and forth, which is pretty entertaining. There's a maid, which means that this is the anime of the season, because maids are justice. And the best part about it, though, is that the mystery is solvable. It's not one of those where they withhold information from you in order to surprise you with the culprit in a whodunit. Is if you're paying attention and following closely, you can like that a lot. It's much more engaging. So I'm looking forward to this one. I'm kind of interested in getting into the manga. I would say watch this. This is a good one.
All right, but I do have to say that no, Alice is the best maid. I'm sorry. Shinigami Bochan no Kurumi.
I don't know, man. I like this maid better.
I'm gonna have to watch it and check it out.
She's a grumpy maid. Oh, love grumpy maids.
Okay, I'll have to watch it to see, but the
Yeah.
just the eroness from the other one is really good. But let's go ahead and go on to I think which is going to be everyone's favorite show to want to share or talk about. Oh, that's a big title card.
What?
Watashi no shiawase na kekkon, which is you mentioned earlier with Otto, which is my happy marriage, right?
Yes. Sorry, my cat got into my yard and was murdering a skein.
I'm kidding.
And
Yeah.
this show is beautiful.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
I will say I was thrown off by episode 2 when they added the supernatural element, but other than that, this show has been really, really fun.
You know, I always keep forgetting there's a supernatural thing. I always just think it's some kind of like slice of life drama just because we've mostly just seen the dynamic of the marriage. And then like sometimes they just stick in the fact like, oh wait, there is supernatural in here. I'm like, oh wait, there is a supernatural aspect in here. But I've just been loving the drama of it all.
So I have
This one, I actually recommended to my aunt, who is not an anime person, just because she loves Cinderella. It's her favorite fairy tale. So I think in some ways this has a lot of cross appeal for the non-anime person in your life, depending on their specific tastes, of course. But I thought I liked the differences that they have from the original fairy tale, as much as you can say that one version is the original, in that her dad is still alive, and that makes the treatment of her even more monstrous. Is that he's still around and he just completely threw her under the bus. And I like her as a character, is that unlike a lot of Cinderella stories, she actually feels like a person. She doesn't have a lot of agency, but I think that's because she's spent most of her life being put upon by the rest of her family. And I can't imagine growing up in a house like that would be healthy mentally. But yes, this is a gorgeous show.
and not only gorgeous. I mean, with that animation, you need a special soundtrack, and they brought in Evan Call, which is the Evergarden soundtrack person.
Oh.
So you got that wonderful music playing, just emphasizing the beautiful scenery that we see and those harsh moments that she goes through. So I think that was a really good choice to bring him, because it's just making everything so much more impactful.
It almost feels movie quality in some ways.
Mm-hmm.
There's just a lot of attention to detail, for instance, on her kimono, even in wide shots or shots that are far away and distant, is that the pattern on her kimono is still visible. And all of the characters have pretty intricate designs on their clothing and hair ornaments and stuff. It's very pleasing on the eyes, this entire thing.
And I honestly kind of got what she reminded me of, like Tomoe from Samurai X. In her
Yeah,
mannerism.
a little bit, yeah.
So it brought that memory of that girl and how she talked so soft spoken, very
Mhm.
down to serve and everything. Of course, in Tomoe had other circumstances going for her, but this girl just. And this is one of those shows that I told you that I have that feel good show, the Cecilia show, afterwards, because this. I'm literally crying at
Oh,
after
when
these
they
episodes.
cut down her tree, her mom's cherry tree, I was livid.
Yes.
Just how dare they?
that father. Oh, I hate him. I'm actually kind of
Yeah.
happy things aren't going their way now. It's like, not only do they have a very great protagonist, this female and the guy, but their villains have done a really good job of making us not want to emphasize with them or be on their side at all.
No, they're definitely in the mustache twirling puppy kicking category. Is they're not sympathetic or deep at all. They just exist to be mean to our poor Cinderella-chan.
But
Oh, go ahead.
well, I wasn't going to say much else. It says it's based off of a light novel, so I do wonder, like, if it's out there translated already, if we can find it. I'm kind of interested in looking for that soon. Does anyone want to add anything else, or should we go to the last title for today? Or I should say second to last title.
I know Tank hasn't been watching the opening because of the possible spoilers, but the opening scenes are just gorgeous, and I just love watching the opening, and oh, it's just beautiful. Tank, I'm just waiting for you to be able to just finally watch the opening.
All right. I'll at least try it when we get to episode 6. Most of the things have happened. So let's go to our next thing. Oh yeah, Oz. We got Oz in there. Thank you. I know you love that anime. Be sure to catch up with us on Netflix. The next title is a show that I'm interested in. It kind of gave me these Bunny Girl Senpai vibes, but it's vastly different. This boy, it starts off talking about himself being like this well-known character to be like semi-stalkery for this one girl that he just absolutely loves. The show's called Yume Miru Danchi wa Genjitsu Shigisha. That's a hard title for me to say. The dreaming boy is a realist. So one day a soccer ball passes right in front of his face, and they do this really weird animation where like the whole world is flashing before his eyes or something weird. There's this spark of electricity as it flashes before him. And as the girl he's kind of always pestering tells him off, says like, "Can you please stop following?" He just has this like sudden realization like, "Yeah, I guess you're right. I'll stop." And now everyone's kind of freaked out and weirded out by how he's just changed so much. He's no longer following her, asking her out and everything, and even the girl's kind of thrown off by him. And he talks to a few people and shows that he still loves her. He still has this infatuation with her, but he's no longer going for that pursuit. He's no longer going to throw himself at her to make him or make her love him, but she will support her since she is the girl he loves, to make sure that she has a great life and makes friends and finds happiness. So it's kind of weird, but so far he's been meeting other people within the school. This one girl kind of comes on to him as a ploy to make her boyfriend jealous, and it doesn't work out, but he kind of sets her straight. And now he's also run into the what do you call those people? The disciplinary committee, and he's helping them as well. But it's interesting to me that I wonder what he's going to do, what's going to change. And also now the girl that he's been following has also been showing these moments where she's kind of getting jealous with him talking to other girls. So now you kind of realize, wait, maybe she does like him, but it's this weird romance thing that's going on. But I've been very interested, and it's only one of the other shows that's on High Dive that I'm going to probably keep on watching because it sounds really fun to me. But no one else is watching it. Sadness. I liked it a lot. And next up is the other show that everyone is watching, besides the Happy Wedding, which is completely opposite of it, which is the Zombie 100. We got the Bucket List of the Dead. And the newest episode just came out today, so I'm excited. How anyone want to take this over? Anyone want to say the greatness about the show?
So everyone's watching it. Yeah. Zom 100 takes place in a world where our main MC Kun, bland, black hair, literally a corporate zombie. He has been working for a black company, working something ridiculous like 100 hours a week. Haven't been able to go home for many days. That kind of thing is routine. So he doesn't want to go to work. And one day he gets up and he's like, I don't want to go to work. I don't want to go to work. Comes out and the zombie apocalypse has happened. And as he's getting chased, he's like, wait, that means I don't need to go to work. Hooray! And the light just comes back into his dead, fish eyes. The colors just come out. All the blood is Technicolor. Bright paint splats, but so he, finds a second life essentially, and then decides that he's going to. I think it's in the second episode that he decides he's going to make a list of things he wants to do, the 100 things he wants to do before he becomes a zombie, because he's seen enough movies to know that eventually something will happen where his luck will run out. But he's going to do the best that he can until that time comes, and he's going to live life to its fullest. So, yeah, the first episode, I was kind of surprised at the amount of time they took to show how horrible his life is, and how his enthusiasm of joining this production company is slowly leached away, and his soul is being crushed. All of that, comes into contrast in the second half when he realizes freedom from that existence. But at the same time, you have to realize that it was an external force that forced him, that gave him this freedom, right? It's not really yet internal. It wasn't that he took the action to quit his job or to find a new job. So that will come into play later because I've read ahead in the manga. I'm actually caught up on the manga, I believe. But it's just a fun, wacky show as he goes around trying to, reconnect with old friends, try to find this, go on a road trip, do these things that he was unable to do, travel, vacation. Yeah. So it's a wacky show. If you just think it's about a fun ride, I think you're in for a surprise later on in the season when weird things start happening, super technological events, and they meet a robot at one point, and things like that happen. But it's just a fun show to be watching to see what kind of wackiness each week he comes up with to try to, at the same time, survive the zombie apocalypse. So, highly recommended.
So, I also thought it was kind of interesting that they showed the differences in thought process between the two main characters, which is Akira and Shizuka, in the way they think in their books, right? Akira's got the 100 things to do before I become a zombie, and her book is titled, I think, 100 things to do to not become a zombie, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you can see the biggest difference between the two characters there, and it's been very fun to see how Akira's been living his life. We haven't seen too much of everyone else yet. It's just been character introduction so far for the first 3 episodes. and we still haven't seen one that we've been shown in the opening or ending. So I'm kind of excited to see that character soon. A lot of people are waiting for her in our group. But another fun thing I thought was that when we saw the chief become a zombie, his little run looked like the Titan, like Attack on Titan. And I found out one of the animators for that episode did do work on Attack on Titan. So I wonder if he put that in as a little nod to what he worked on beforehand.
Oh, so just so you know, that wasn't the chief. That was the president or the CEO.
Or the CEO.
Yeah, you'll see what happens to the chief later.
Oh,
that's the hint.
But yeah, so it's been a really good show for me and really fun. I've been I think it was kind of interesting how they went through the color design, because I did kind of look at the first chapter of the manga. Of course, there's no zany colors anywhere, right? So the way they did the colors for this show, I think, was an interesting direction to play around with. How did you feel about the colors like that?
I liked it because I thought it had a thematic reason for why they were all weird, and that it showed that a normal person would be absolutely horrified about the zombie apocalypse. And yet our main character is absolutely just almost on a manic high about it, because his work life was so horrible that to him it's a celebration. So the practical reason is probably they're trying to get around it being censored, but what they decided to go with just works so well.
Yeah. Especially, I think, because of how it starts off with, right? With him showing how bad his life was with the Black Company. Everything was monochrome almost, right?
Yeah.
And now that he's free, I think we're seeing everything in the color of his eyes, where it's just vibrant and he's just living the freedom he's always wanted.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah. Definitely a must-watch, I would say, for everyone. Unless you don't like zombies. Like, I have a family member that hates zombies. I don't know why. She tells me all the time that I think it's because she feels that zombies could be a real-life thing. So it kind of scares her. I'm like, okay. But, yeah. New episode today, and I'm going to definitely watch that after this. But are there any closing statements from anyone? I know there was a Psycho Pass movie that came out, I think 2 weeks ago, or was it last week? I can't remember. The movie. But other than that,
I want to see it, but I haven't seen it yet.
Other than that, I don't know about any other movies that are coming out soon. But,
Well, we'll post them if we get any information.
Yes, definitely. So, as you can see in our description here, if you guys have any questions about any of that, just ask DragonWarrior, and he'll respond to you, hopefully. Or you can join our Discord. Well, I'll try to put a link in our description to join our Discord, or maybe just request one and I'll send you one. I probably don't want people just spamming to get in there. Other than that, I think that's it for tonight. We kind of went kind of long, and I'm happy everyone was able to join us for this start of the season. Jessica, Albert, thank you for taking time out of your day to join us.
Of course.
And Vinny, once again, you're in our hearts. We hope to see you here at the end of the season, okay? And with that said, thank you everyone, and goodbye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.